This is the manuscript Teaching in Magenta, and we're actually considering Teach in Magenta as well. And then we have a sort of a placeholder here. We're considering the subtitle. So, anyways, we can talk all about that later. But right now, this you're getting sort of a raw document. We don't have front matter, back matter, any of that. But I wanted you to get started on this, and I'm going to show you how this works. So one of the things you'll see is we've got some images in here. These are actually drawn by my daughter Lauren, and one of them's not in here. There's going to be maybe 11 or 12 of these, and we're not going to caption them or anything. We're going to sort of just scatter them throughout the manuscript, and that's explained in the introduction. And then this is a document I'll share with you that tells what the current image chapter titles are, or that's what they were originally based on, although they won't show up there. The only reason this is important, I know it sounds confusing, is I don't want you to delete any of these chapters. So when you're going through your first edit and you're saying what should we get rid of, make sure you look at these titles and don't eliminate any of these titles because they have images in the book that are inspired by those titles. Hopefully that makes sense. So then we go to the manuscript. So, you can check out the preface, which I think is excellent. And then the introduction, sort of a brief, here's how this book works, talks about the sections. So there's 5 sections. We're looking at probably 19 to 20 paths, they're called. The chapters are called paths per section. So we're looking for 100 total. So you can, go through this and make sure it all sounds right and how to use the book, makes sense and all of that. But then the key in this first run through is to look at the sections, to read what the sections are about. And then, you'll see here, insert compassion image. Again, right now we don't need to worry that much about the images. But you'd want to make sure that whatever that image goes to, we don't delete it. So these are called paths, and we need to decide, are we going to call these like path 1, apologize, path 2, pump the brakes? Not totally sure about that, but you see they're really short, 100 words, 120 words, something like that. So as we go through, I think the best way to approach this is probably to read the entire section, because what we're going to find is more than 20 of these paths. So in section 1, they fit the idea of compassion as it's outlined. And then what you're going to do, you see you're now at 21, 22, 23, 24, looks like 24. So you have to get a feel for these and then decide what should stay and what should go. So if we go with the goal of having 20, then you might say, I have to cut 4 from this. And we have a copy of this saved, so you could just cut them. You don't have to save them or anything like that. And the decision's up to you. You don't have to edit this. You don't have to say to Jim, hey, I'm thinking of cutting this one or consider cutting this one. You're just going to cut it out as long as it does not match one of our images. You're just going to cut it. And he's fine with that. I'm fine with it. So again, so then you come to section 2. When you teach in magenta, you're optimistic, and it explains a little bit about this idea of optimism and the paths that should go under being optimistic. So you look at these. So here's one example. For me, I already went through some of these, and I had put this in there for Jim, and he just left it alone. He said, do whatever you want. So I don't like this one. For me, when I look at the description of section 2, and I read this, I think, okay, this works. This seems good. And then I read this and I go, I'm not really sure it fits. I'm not really sure someone's going to look at it and go, oh, I'm inspired by this, or this is something that it has a strategy I can really use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm just going to cut that out, and that's it. So one of these is cut. But the first thing now that I've cut that, what you want to do again is go through and find out how many there are in this section, how many you need to cut. Then I think you go back and you read each one and you decide this one's not great, that one's not great, and so on. And again, leave the images right now where they are. When your work is done, then we would probably, we'll go back through and decide where we want to put these images, because we're just going to put them in here randomly. We're not going to put them right with, so there's probably a Be a Beacon section or path somewhere, we're not going to put the image right by that. And we can talk about the reasoning behind that if you want to know. So again, I'm going through, I think the first run through, you read all of these, you ask yourself how they fit the section definition, then you go back and you decide how many need to be cut. Let's shoot for 20 in each to create symmetry. And then you go through and you say, yeah, I don't like this one. This one doesn't have the right feel. This one's maybe not as well written. This one doesn't have a real good strategy with it. It's not as inspirational, any of those things. And that's really it the first time through. And I don't think there's going to be much after that. This is very short. So there's about 130 of these. We're going to ultimately get down to 120. So you'll see, as you go through again, and the numbers might change, but I don't think that's as important right now. On the second pass, we'll want to make sure that, each section, if it has 20, they're numbered. And I think we'll need to decide, do we want to continue the numbering? So when we get to section 2, do we want to start again at 1 or go to 21? I think we probably want to keep going because we're going to say in the introduction that there's 100 of these paths to teaching in magenta. So as you scroll through again, these are all with a different section now. This is with last section 5. And then when I get to, I think, the bottom, so there's 130, and then here's the conclusion. Simple, straightforward. We'll put our back matter in, and that's it. This is only about 16 or 17,000 words. We're going to have a little different trim size on this. It's going to be very short, of course. I think it's going to be a fairly easy edit, and it's going to give you the opportunity to be creative a little bit and say what works, what doesn't work. And when you don't like something, just take it out. All right, let me know if you have any questions about this.